Hello and welcome to another episode of the Leo Alves podcast. And in today's podcast episode, I have a guest with me, Nolan. I won't say too much. I'll let him introduce himself. I'm very excited to have him on, but I guess like you can introduce yourself, where you're from, what you do, where you're based, and then we can just go from there.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate you having me on. My name is Nolan. I'm a fitness and nutrition coach. I'm in the Philadelphia area. Um, yeah, I kind of got into all this stuff because when I was little, my favorite subjects in school were science and recess and gym class. So that's kind of a recipe for someone that ends up going to school for exercise science. Um, I was lucky to have an advisor that, like, I told her, like, I don't know what I want to do. I just know this stuff is really cool. She threw me in a bunch of different areas. Ultimately, I found out I like the applied setting, coaching, working with people one on one, not in a rehab setting. And I've been doing that since, oh man, 2017 now. Um, just like, I became that guy that like coaches the friends and family and just like picked up some part-time stuff. And now I've been doing it full time since 2021.
Yeah, so okay, good
Yeah.
while now. Good while now. 2021 feels like yesterday, but yeah, a good 4 years is a good while. Um, did you so you're based in Philadelphia? That was actually something I was quite curious about. And I actually came across you for the first time on Threads. I've uh I've noticed you've been using it for a while now. Like, how are you finding the platform so far? And I know this isn't very fitness specific, but before we do get into the fitness specific stuff, I just thought I'd ask a few questions I'm quite curious about.
Yeah. Um, I don't know. Threads is a weird place. I was kind of an early adopter on there. Like I said, I've been coaching for about 8 years, but I'm still new myself to like things like content creation and publishing things myself, having my own business and stuff. So I don't have a huge following. So when Threads came out, I was like, oh, I got to get on there. I do my best to like, post as much quality information as I can. But if you've been on Threads and checked out the fitness and nutrition advice, it's kind of a losing battle on there. There's some definitely a lot of like engagement baits and you know stuff like that. But I still do my best. I feel like every single kind of crazy fitness and nutrition post, there's like the same 10 to 20 accounts that I see in the comments, like debunking everything. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, so it's definitely an odd place. But I like it. I like going on there, having conversations with people. I'm trying to not like, you know, be like over emotional, just have like genuine conversations with people, be as nice as possible.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
Yeah.
Well, you say you've got quite a small following on there. I think like relative to Threads, it's a decent size because I don't feel like there's too many accounts that are big on Threads that weren't already big on Instagram. If that makes sense, because it's still in its very young days, and I just thought I'd bring it up because yeah, I'm just genuinely quite curious about the platform right now. As you know, someone obviously we're coaches for a living, but part of that, I guess it does come with posting content online, and especially when you do get into the online side of things, and I have found Threads personally just to be quite an interesting platform because as you said, there is a lot of rage baiting on there, but there is a lot of good stuff on there as well. And I'm sure I don't know, like I am quite like because I have noticed that you are very consistent with it. And I don't know, yeah, I find it is quite an interesting place. Like maybe there is like and I did actually want to ask you is like maybe there's a few types of subjects that whenever you post about it, it always like just gets quite a lot of traction. Maybe you can name a few.
Yeah, I know every time I post about um, anything about like food specific to the United States, it gets a lot of traction. Talking about things like chemicals and ingredients. I think that might just be getting attraction in general, not just on threads. That seems to be like the thing right now, like focusing on food ingredients and additives. But yeah, whenever I post that, it tends to blow up. Usually a high proportion of comments.
Yeah, and I actually wanted to speak about that because it's a great thing that you do bring up because That is a very popular subject. Like I do agree. And I've seen you speak about this on threads before, where it's like, oh, like the whole like chemicals in food type of spiel, like it is always just like way overblown. Oh, we've got we eat foods that are banned in Europe type of thing. I often hear as well, like what's going on? They're poisoning us. Um, and I do see that quite a lot. Whereas it's like I've seen you say online, and like I've been saying for a while, like you will just find more often than not, it's mostly because like US cities just aren't very walk friendly. They're not set up in a way that really encourages physical movement and calorie poor. Like, what do you think is the whole thing behind it? Why do you think like what do you think is the belief, and why do you think they're connecting it to maybe like chemicals in food, and then and what's actually going on, let's say.
Yeah. I mean, part of the belief just comes from echoing others. You know, someone else, you get enough other people saying that like it is the chemicals in the US food, then you know other people are going to start believing it. And honestly, I get it. I'm not going on there like getting super upset with people that are saying that. Like I get why people think that correlation is there. I'm just trying to like calmly explain things um the best I can that like I don't think this is, you know, causing the problems you think it is. Um I know you mentioned the things like, oh, they're banned in Europe, but they allow it here. How could they do that? A lot of these things aren't banned in Europe or, you know, other places. They just go under different names. So when you go to look it up, it's like, no, it's not here, but it actually is. It's the same chemical, different names. Uh, we ban things here in the US that a lot of other countries don't ban. So again, I don't think it's a valid argument. Um, yeah, and a lot of these additives are just in specific foods that are really easy to overconsume. So I could see why the correlation is there, and people notice that correlation. Again, I don't think it's actually like unreasonable to think that. I'm just here to have the, you know, the conversation. To like, I don't think this is doing it, guys. If I could just pick out like one example, people say like, whenever you know my kid has, you know, the food dyes in the cereal, he's like super hyper and can't focus. It's like, okay, I get that, but like what if it's the cereal, you know? I say this as someone that like children's cereal, which is basically dessert, is like one of my like favorite junk foods. Like I love it. But it's a bowl of sugar. Like let's be real. Like it's probably that's making your kid act a certain way. Um, yeah, I know a lot of people have strong feelings on this. I'm open to having like reasonable conversations around this. Because I totally understand where the correlation's coming from.
Do you think when people are like highlighting that, and this is all your opinion, of course, so like do you think
Mhm.
when people are highlighting that, do you think they're basing like when they're saying, oh, it's so bad for us, the chemicals in America foods, etc., do you think they're like linking that to the high obesity rate in the US? Or do you think there's like other things they're trying to link it to, generally
Um,
speaking?
Yeah, I've seen like some sort of like attention and focus type things linked to that. But a lot of people are linking it to, you know, weight gain and the high prevalence of obesity in this country. And that's where I'm gonna have to strongly disagree. I don't think those really impact each other. Um, a lot of these things are pretty tightly regulated from what I've been able to see in my own self-study. And especially like the bigger companies, like they're able to, you know, they've been around for a while. They regulate it pretty well. They give them an upper safety limit that's based on, you know, other data. We should keep looking into it always, but like we're at the point now, it's like with the current evidence, these things either make no difference to our health or very, very small differences. That's kind of like where the evidence window lies right now, where the evidence window for, you know, chronic overconsumption of calories is like we know what it does. It's not good for you. So I'm gonna take that risk
So
any
if
day.
it, oh yeah, yeah. So if let's say they are blaming growing obesity rates on like the chemicals in foods and food dyes, etc. What is it? Okay, yeah, it's coming from like a place of, I guess, trying to understand what's going on, but what would you say? And I guess you touched upon this already, is like the genuine reasons for what they're for what they're for like the growing obesity rates in the US. If it's not, and you know, this is to the listener, if it's not the chemicals in our food, or in American food, I should say, and it's not the food dyes, what's causing weight gain? And I guess again, we touched upon it already a bit, but can go deeper.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the like not very many walkable cities and places here. I just moved to a walkable city, coming from a place where like I was kind of walking next to a cars for a significant duration of my walks at my old neighborhood. So I'm very lucky to be where I'm at now. But yeah, a lot of people don't have super great places to walk. Um, it's it's kind of hard to like you have to purposefully inconvenience yourself to get the physical activity you need to. Whereas in other places and even in the US decades ago, it kind of just you didn't have to think about it. It was just a part of normal life for a lot of people, at least a higher percentage. Um, Ultra processed food, it's normalized, it's more abundant. And I think just like with how busy and stressed everyone is, like, yeah, these high calorie foods serve as a really good stress coping mechanism um, to daily life. That's what I work on a lot with my clients. A lot of them are pretty stressed, and like we shouldn't dance around the fact that like this is good at relieving some stress, making you feel good immediately. I totally get the urge to at the end of a long day have a beer and a bag of chips. That would chill me out too. It just has an unfortunate side effect when you do it too much.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And you know what? I definitely feel the same way you feel about a lot of what we've discussed. And this is just like personal experience. Like I have there is one thing, one experience I've had in the US where I was like, what the hell was going on there? It's So for context, I'm born and raised in the UK. I've lived in but nowadays I live in Portugal, so Southern Europe. And I did an exchange year in Vermont and I went around New England, ate the food, whatever, it's fine. Like I like nothing majorly like it was fine. The only difference I would say that I noticed was like the cereal was had much more sugar on like a brand for brand basis. Like I could taste the difference. Like Cookie Crisp
Okay.
in the US, like compared to Cookie Crisp in the UK, like I could taste there was like I could taste it like there was so much more sugar for sure. At least that's what I felt like at the time. Or maybe I don't know what it was, but that's what it tasted like. And um that was like the only thing I really like that really stuck out to me. But otherwise, yeah, that's the only thing I really noticed. And then and that exchange year was like 2016 to 2017. Came back, you know, was in Europe, went to Japan as well, and then I went to Texas in 2022 for 10 weeks, and I don't know what the hell was going on here. And probably you won't know too, but we can speculate because sometimes it's fun to speculate. It's not like these aren't like hard
Yeah.
scientific reasons, but um, every single day in Texas, most days, and I was in Houston specifically, but I went to other places too. Like my stomach really hurt, like from like a like it hurt. Like I could not stop farting. To be straight up with you, like I'm happy to be straightforward on this podcast episode, always have been. Like I could not stop farting, I could not stop going to the toilet, like, and it was just eating the food. And this happened from the moment I landed in Texas, and it stopped the moment I left. And I don't know what was going on there. And again, I agree with everything you say, but just that I can't explain it. And I could probably, try and dive into I've never actually researched it or spoken about it to chat GPT or try to Google it. But I have always, thought I do wonder, is it just I don't know, something I wasn't used to or
Yeah, I'm not sure. I've never been to Texas myself. I don't know if like your physical activity habits changed while you were there. Probably a little bit. If you're doing like a lot of takeout, You know the phrase "everything's bigger in Texas," just bigger portions. Past that, I really couldn't say. I've never been there. I had a cousin that lived there. I hear about it from him, but he's
Yeah.
he's bouncing all over the place now.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I definitely gained weight while I was in Texas, which I was fine with because it was just a temporary stay. But yeah, it was an interesting one. If I had to like just completely speculate again without diving into any of it, and this is just pure speculation right now, not like scientific answers, I would just say like the only guess I could have is yet again bigger portion sizes with probably a lot more like oil and butter compared to what I'm used to being used in
Hmm.
the cooking. And that's probably just where my guess goes, like, but a lot more, like a huge difference. And
Okay.
that's all I could probably, again, that's pure speculation, but I think that could potentially explain it because it tastes good. And there's a reason why it tastes really good, the
Oh
food
yeah.
there. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like
Yeah.
I'll make that clear. Like the food tastes really, really good in Texas. Like I will say that it just did something to my stomach. Um, yeah, anyway, like I would love to ask you, did you have anything else you wanted to say on any of that before I move on to the next question?
I don't think so. You got me curious now. I'm gonna reach out to my cousin that lived there for a year. He was in Dallas, so I'm gonna see what his experience was.
Yeah, like the fact
Yeah.
that it immediately stopped the day I left was just, yeah, I was like, that is really strange to me. Because again, I never experienced that in New England. It was just in Texas. So I always thought, I guess I wasn't curious enough because I didn't research it, but I did always think that was like really an interesting experience. But yeah, anyway, like the next thing I wanted to ask you was, so obviously with you having frequently posted on threads, I'd love to know, is there something that you post about that you often get pushback on, like whether it's a specific post or a subject or I don't know, you often get pushback on it from the majority of people, but you still like die on that hill, like no, like this is what I genuinely believe. Would you say there's anything like that?
I mean, all the U.S. food is the big one. Um, the other thing I get a lot of pushback on is I talk about exercise form sometimes, and this is something that does not do well, especially in short form content. So maybe it resonates better in something like a podcast style. Um, I just don't think exercise form matters in the way that most people think it matters. And I think it has a much broader window of being effective and being safe than people think. Um, so when you dial that down to short form content, you hear me just saying things like, exercise form doesn't matter. Maybe one or two more sentences giving some context, but like I still think it's not enough for a lot of people to see my reasoning. So that I get some pushback on the exercise form stuff too.
So if someone, let's say the listener is hearing that right now, let's say they're wondering what exactly do you mean by exercise form?
Yeah, so I more talk about like the resistance training side now. You have probably seen those videos where maybe someone's pushing something and then it's like a red X and then they change their elbow or shoulder angle and it's like green check mark, now you're good. Um, I've seen it with like specific tempos, like no, you shouldn't move fast, you should move slow and controlled. Um, don't go beyond this range of motion, no knees over your toes during a lunge. So all things like that. I'm sure that like anyone that has looked to social media for fitness related content has seen something like that. And I just think that is like way overcomplicating things and not for the sake of, give beginners some slack. It's for the sake of, I don't think these things matter. Exercise form is more about which joints and muscles are you loading more or less during a movement. So you could probably, a good place to test that for most people would be like a seated cable row and go try a bunch of different like hand attachments and maybe bring your elbows up more on one and then bring them to your side. And you're just going to feel different stuff. One's not safe or dangerous or more than the other. Um, Within context, there's kind of like an asterisk over that. And I'll get to that in a second. One's not more effective unless you're talking about like, oh, this one loads the rear delts more and this one actually loads the lats more. things like that. Um, the big thing about like, is this safe or not? I think there's a lot of evidence pointing towards like it's more of a load management issue than it is are you moving quote correctly issue. Um, so if you jump into things too fast too soon, I think that's the much bigger lever on injury risk than, you know, specific joint angles as you move through things. Um, there's some really like wacky looking movements that like you could argue like, yeah, if you started super light and built up to that, like you'd be good to go. Um, I can give a good example of that. I grew up swimming, competitive swimming, and my best event was breaststroke. So if you ever looked at a breaststroke kick, it's kind of like a quad extension, but your feet are way out and your knees are caved in because it's more streamlined. And I remember starting to do more breaststroke kick specific stuff and like my knees were hurting, but once I got used to it, I was good to go. And now I just like I'm strong in that range of motion. And I think that applies for everything. Just properly building things up, load management, stress, rest, recover. Same kind of principles to anything.
I see. And would you say you generally hold that belief across the board, or would you say it's more like it depends on the exercise, so more like isolation exercises or like compound exercises, or you kind of feel like that about it them all, or would you say it's more like on an individualistic basis?
I would say I feel that way pretty much across the board. Again, I've seen people, you know, worked in a gym for a long time, and I've seen some wacky looking forms, especially in like my group exercise classes back when I was teaching those. I feel like that provides a good environment for this because like I don't have time to go give like proper cues to like 10, 15, 20 people. And you'll see things, they'll just start super light and gradually build up. And I see so many different forms work and they're not getting hurt. Because they're in the gym, they're getting less hurt than, everyone else that's not being active. And yeah, I've seen too much scientific evidence and like personal experience, like that evidence too. I do think the anecdotes matter. Like I've seen it in real time, and that just reinforces the science. Like I think you could take that messaging too far and say like form doesn't matter. I think that's a straw man argument. Your form matters. It's just I don't think it matters in the way that people think that it matters. And I like to get that messaging out there because I think it lowers the barrier for a lot of people that are looking to start. Start in the weight room, start running because running form is a big one. Um, I've actually talked to a lot of people. They're like, I'm waiting until like my form is good, and then I could start pushing myself. And it's like you, you could probably start pushing yourself at least a little bit. Um, like you're ready. If you're already conscious and thinking about it, you're good to go. Also, pro tip: if you don't know how to do anything and you're in a gym with trainers, go ask them for some form feedback. You're gonna get free advice, and they think they're getting a client.
Yeah. Yeah, but
Yeah.
as you said, I can definitely see why on social, like on short form social media, that would be like a very polarizing type of statement to make with like minimal context, which short form kind of forces you to give minimal context. But yeah, with longer form context, yeah, I can you can definitely understand it much more where you're coming from. Was there anything else you wanted to say on that before I asked the next thing I had in mind?
I think just my overall intent behind my messaging is lowering the barrier. You do not need to have this perfect form to start resistance training or running or anything where like form is really um like highly prioritized. You're good to just start. Build it up like anything else.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. Um, okay, so like, and again, staying on the theme of threads. There ever been any post that you've made like, you know what, I haven't posted anything in a while. I kind of want to post something. I haven't put much thought behind this post, but it's true. I'll put it out there and then I'll leave it. And then you came back and you were like, whoa, I did not expect this to resonate so well with so many people, especially with how little thought I put behind it. But it clearly does resonate a lot. Would you say there's anything that comes to mind there that really just surprised you, that just resonated far more than you expected?
Um, Unfortunately, nothing resonates and blows up, at least that I post, that is, you know, driven by like, hey, Nolan, great post. Unfortunately, it's usually, uh, you know, people arguing back and forth. And I think what a lot of that, a lot of that gets driven by like other people kind of doing the arguing for me. When people come in like comment rationally, like I'm willing to, comment back at this point and, talk it out with them. I've even sent like DMs to people like afterwards, be like, hey, I think I could provide more context here. But yeah, a lot of the ones that are a little bit more controversial, it's just like other people kind of beefing it out in the comments. I'm like, I'm staying out of that. Like, you guys are too hot-headed for me to change your mind right now. Um, I did make a post one time regarding like again another hot topic right now, like insulin and
Oh
carbs
yeah,
and blood sugar. Um, and I was pointing out that like people are like, yeah, when you have carbs and glucose, your insulin spikes and then crashes. I
yeah.
I was like, yeah, that's kind of what happens in a normal healthy body. That's a good thing. Um, and that got a lot of attention. And that's one I did close for like a day or two and came back and I was like, oh, look at that. It was kind of too far gone at that point to go through the comments, comb through and answer questions. But people kind of hopped all over that one.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, to be honest, it really does surprise me how many people are. But I guess there's so many misinformation online nowadays. But I was going to say,
Mhm.
yeah, a lot of people do really stand by the belief that you just do not want to spike your insulin. That
Yeah.
like that must be avoided, and hence I think why fruit gets spoken down to a lot as well nowadays.
Yeah. Yeah. Fruit is
Bizarrely,
like the
yeah,
demonization of fruit. That's another one that I'm like, I'm kind of not touching this one. Um, I've had people in person ask me about like, is fruit fattening? And like their guards down, I could talk more with them. But like online, I'm like, I'm not touching that. Like if you're saying that, like, let's be real, I'm not gonna change your mind on a Threads comment or an Instagram comment. So I kind of don't touch that one. But yeah, I do think that like the whole insulin thing gets way, way overblown. Um, it's a normal physiological reaction. Seeing it go up and down through the day is normal and healthy. It would be more concerning if it wasn't changing throughout the day. Um, and also people are like, avoid insulin spikes. Don't eat carbs, eat protein. I'm like, well, you know what protein does when you eat it? It spikes your insulin. Again, not a bad thing, but like that's, high dose of protein. That's what it does. Yeah, that's a touchy subject too. The whole insulin and blood sugar thing right now.
a lot of people get quite touchy about. The thing is with a lot of dieting beliefs nowadays is that people get so into it that you could say it becomes like cult-like behavior as well in some spaces, like
Yeah.
carnival, for example. But they allow it to almost become basically it does become part of their identity when they've now got it in their probably they've got their diet in their username, their bio, their last few posts, they're discussing it. Maybe they've got something that relates to it in
Mhm.
their display picture. Uh, it's just like everywhere, and I'm like, and yeah, and then it gets so it's obviously part of their identity by this point. So then for someone maybe to come along like me or you and say, yeah, probably it's this is it's normal to have an insulin
Yeah,
spike. That's like an attack on their identity by this point. So that's why, yeah, people just, I can see why they would get really touchy about it because they've let it get that far.
exactly. Yeah, I think you summarized that really well. When you have like I'm the low carb guy, uh, the keto guy. Sorry for just the men. I'm just yeah, saying guy. But yeah, like when you like kind of form your whole coaching identity or even person identity around one of those things, every criticism of that thing becomes a criticism of you. When it's like, I'm not criticizing you as a person. I'm just like pointing out like the trade-offs and the pros and cons behind this approach and where the potential downfalls are. I'm not, you know, the walking for cardio, the incline treadmill for cardio, the macronutrient this type person. Like I'm the what works guy. What works for each individual person. So then when I see, criticisms on specific modalities or diets or certain types of foods, I get to see that as just like, oh, look at that, that's a good point. Or no, I don't like that argument that much. And then it's not like an attack on me. Um, and then the things that praise it also aren't unnecessarily like boosting my ego and things like that. So yeah, I do think you summarized it pretty well. It becomes an identity attack when you talk about these things and people are like, that's like my whole thing.
Yeah, that's my whole life, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's yeah, people just cannot be letting the way they eat become that ingrained into their identity because yeah, they're going to have a very difficult time being able to critically evaluate, like just be able to like critically think about actually what they're doing. Is it serving them anymore? Like, is this a good idea? Is it like starting to harm me, my health? Is it taking away my social life? And they're gonna have a really tough time being able to look at that and actually genuinely think about it sensibly without just wanting to not think about that because again, it's so part of who they are now. So they're just gonna, yeah, it's you just can't. It's just the way you fucking eat. Like it really
Yeah, yeah.
shouldn't be that. It really shouldn't be that deep.
Yeah,
Like we have to chill out, and it definitely doesn't need to be in your username. I'll put it that way.
exactly. It's so rare that I could think of the exact user profile, but I actually have like one follower over on Threads and has like keto in his name and talks about it all the time. But like he's actually really cool. And like when I bring something up, he's like, yeah, a lot of people don't know about this obstacle of the ketogenic diet. I'm like, why can't everyone be more like that guy? Like he's just like, I'm here to talk about the pros and cons. I was like, this guy's he might be one of a kind.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah,
they're
he's like
definitely few
very
and far.
chill.
Yeah, I've met a few. Yeah, yeah, but it's definitely not common.
Not
Um,
common.
but yeah, and it brings me up to another point as well, like those seeking good nutrition advice, like to the listener right now, if you are, then chances are much more often than not. Probably like 98% of the time, 99, probably all the time. Like you probably don't want to listen. Like if that person has again like the way they eat in their username, their bio, and you can let me know what you think about this as well. They're probably not going to be the best person to go to for nutrition advice because chances are what they're going to say is going to be incredibly biased. Again, much more often than not. So I probably wouldn't use them as a go-to source for just like general nutrition information about how to improve your health.
Yeah, exactly. And I like how you had the context of like how to improve your health because I think there are some like I think the most common example that a lot of people know is like veganism for like environmental or ethical reasons. If you want to do that, like
Yeah,
cool, go
100%.
find someone and surround yourself with those people. But when it gets to like the health thing, one of the evidence just isn't there that like anything but like omnivorous diet is kind of you know the top one here because then everything is technically an option. Everything past that's it's a restriction. Some a little bit of restriction, some a lot. And you don't need to do that unless you have a specific medical condition.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Which most people don't who start it.
Right.
Yeah, was there anything else you wanted to say before I go into the next thing I had in mind?
No, no, let's keep it rolling.
Okay, so this was just a general question, but I would love to know, like, what is a fitness trap you feel like you see beginners fall into very often, that you find you often have to give them a heads up on, and it could be about something we've already discussed, maybe it isn't.
I usually see two types of people. One is the forever learner, and they're just gonna be like, I gotta go conjure the perfect plan before I get started. I kind of touched on that before on like exercise form. They're like, I need to dial this in before I get started. I need to make sure I got all the apps. I need my recovery protocol, all this stuff. And it's like, you just got to get going. Um, Not only do you not need to know that much to go from nothing to something, also you're gonna learn a lot more just by doing and trial and error. So you're gonna learn more even by making like a lot of suboptimal decisions, and you're gonna make a lot of progress along the way. So just get going. And the other type of person I see is the marathon sprinter. That's what I call them. If you've ever seen someone try to sprint a marathon, it's not pretty. Um, yeah, they're going from zero to 5 days a week, no junk food, and maybe you see some pretty good progress for 2 to 4 weeks, but then ultimately you just crash and burn, and then you're just totally off of it. Um, in a perfect world, yeah, more exercise is better, but like you got to consider like, have you gotten used to that yet? Are you going to get injured, mentally burnt out, things like that? So get started right now, but just by doing like a little bit. Um, Especially if you're not doing anything right now. If you have like no structure to your eating habits and you're not exercising at all, great news is that like 20 to 30 minutes twice a week of exercise and just cutting out like a very small percentage of ultra processed food or alcohol, like that's going to actually give you a lot of really good results if you're starting from nothing right now.
Yeah, no, exactly, 100%. And I like the two things that you brought up. I very much agree with them. Yeah, you get a lot of people who they want yeah, it's like all the gadgets. They want all the gadgets, they want a lot
Mhm.
of information, and more often than not, this is probably like whether they realize it or not, it's just a form of procrastination.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know it because I do it too, just in other areas. I'm good with fitness and nutrition, but I do it all the time too. So I could empathize with people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. And then the other, yeah, people going, which I would say is probably the more common one, people just going way too hard
Mhm.
too quickly, and then they can't, probably because they think that's what they need to do, and then they just can't stick with it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize just how little is required on a daily basis.
Yeah, but that's not sexy.
No, no, it's really not.
Yeah.
But then like just doing that little amount of work daily for uh months and then eventually years, that's the hard part to kind of wrap your head around.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, like I said, yeah, it's just that's not exciting. What's exciting? Yeah, it's like people just I think you do get people who are just drawn to extremes and
Mhm.
yeah, that they just need to they want to see really fast progress, not realizing that's why they're not seeing the long-term progress either.
Right.
Um, was there something I've got one more question that I had in mind, and was there anything else you wanted to add before I go on to this final thing?
Um, no, I mean I can't emphasize those two enough. Just like get started right now
Yeah, just
with that.
start. You don't
Yeah,
need another
with that
podcast.
mentality, usually people are like, "All right, let's finally do this," and they're all amped up, and then that's when like you know,
Yeah.
the big strict program comes in, and it's it does kind of feel counterintuitive to do that. I get that to amp yourself to get started, but then just kind of like tiptoe your way through.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, yeah,
so just
yeah.
trying to, yeah, just trying to, walk that line. Um, and like I said, especially if you're coming from like no healthy habits, like all you need is a little bit. Like what's the saying? Like 20% of the work for 80% of the gains.
Yeah.
That's kind of the stage you're at. Like the first little bit you do is gonna give you like most of the progress you're gonna see.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And I find that first group as well often falls into it's like they think as well as what we listed, they also feel like, I just, I want to listen to another podcast episode or let me read this book about what I already know, but think I need to learn more of before I start, or watch this video or see this series. And it's just like oftentimes it's like you said, like chances are you know enough to get started. And
Yeah,
you're going to learn a lot more by doing it and getting started than actually just watching the 10th video and podcast and listening to another podcast episode about the same thing. That isn't going to move the needle like it is just
exactly.
getting
Yeah.
started. Yeah.
I think back to like my swimming days. It was unoptimized as it could be. Fasted morning practices, under recovered, you know, the we were just like the intervals and stuff like didn't really make sense. We just worked hard for 4 years straight and got super fit and fast. Um, could it have been better? Yeah, probably. But maybe only by a couple percent. Like if the work is there, like the results are probably going to come.
No, exactly. And I'd love to ask to finish off with, and this next question doesn't have to do with fitness. It can
Mhm.
be about literally anything, but what would you say is like one thing you're currently obsessed with that, yeah, again, could be fitness related, might not be. I'd love to hear.
I've been really into cooking the past couple of years, and it's not like healthy recipes, like not at all. It's just like regular cooking, trying to get into baking a little bit more. And just like overall, like the kitchen in general. I think it's really cool. I've debated like posting things like recipes. I'm like, nah, I kind of just want like cooking to be my thing, like for me and my family and friends. Like I'm learning how to like sharpen my own knives professionally now. Um, because I'm getting sick of like dull kitchen knives. Finding a bunch of new recipes. That's usually like what I go to watch when I don't have a lot of time. I rarely have like consecutive free time to watch and like binge a show or a movie. So I usually just watch like cooking videos and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, I could try that out this weekend. I'm gonna later today like go grill with my dad. Um, yeah, that and then just Philadelphia sports. Um, I was in Pittsburgh for 6 years for school and then some work, and now I'm back in the Philadelphia area, and I'm just like, man, I miss this. It's awesome. Some of the teams are great, some are bad, and I love them all.
Are you from Pennsylvania?
Yeah, yeah. I grew up like 90 minutes north of Philadelphia. I was in Pittsburgh. I mean, you can see right behind me the Pittsburgh and Philadelphia stuff.
Mm.
Um, and Pittsburgh's like 4.5 hours away, like other side of the state. And now I'm back near the city. I'm like 40 minutes outside again, and the city definitely bleeds into the suburbs where I'm at now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what's your favorite dish to cook?
Um, I do love making ziti. It's kind of like way too hot for something like that, like to have the oven cranked for a while, and it's more of like a winter dish. So I'm excited for fall to hit and get cooking that again. But that one's fun. I get to like tweak little things here and there, and also like all my friends and family are super hype when ziti's coming.
And then in regard to sports, I'm assuming like regardless of the sport, if the team's from Pennsylvania, you're behind it.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
what are your favorite sports?
Um, my favorite one to watch is hockey. So that's the Philadelphia Flyers. They're not great right now though. They're in a rebuild for like the past 10 years, I guess. So in isolation, it's hockey, but it's got to be the Eagles right now because they're actually good. Like they're really good. So everyone's pumped to go watch them now. People have watch parties and stuff. So it's you can get more involved with the community and just scream our heads off with everyone. Yeah. And I promise
Nice.
we're not all dickheads. We don't represent our best. Philadelphia sports fans, I know, but
Oh, is
some
that
of
like
it's
the
just like,
stereotype?
yeah, yeah, a lot of people don't really don't really like us.
Yeah, Phila. You're gonna have to forgive me because I'm not the most in touch with American sports. Yeah, I'm aware you won the Super Bowl last
Mhm.
season, right?
Yeah.
So I'm assuming there was probably a lot of like anger from other fans. Probably you could probably but those in Philadelphia, in Pennsylvania would probably describe it as jealousy. Um, yeah, okay, I see.
Yeah. Yeah. People never really liked Philadelphia sports fans, but now that one of the teams is good, it's even worse. So it's getting like the normal hate. I totally get it too. Like when people are like, you know, you guys are assholes. I don't really go to defend. I'm like, yeah, some of us are pretty loud and way too aggressive. But I promise there's a lot of cool ones too.
So who are the biggest rivals for the Eagles?
Um, yeah, for football, it's the Cowboys.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
and oh, go on.
they're in the same conference, which I don't really understand. Maybe a bigger football fan could help me understand that. Like they're pretty far apart
Yeah. That's
in
why
the
I'm quite
country. Yeah,
surprised.
yeah, and then Flyers, it's the Penguins. And so I got the Philadelphia and Pittsburgh stuff right there. So like, but Penguins kind of kicked our ass for the better part of 2 decades. It's not great.
I would have assumed that like man, I might just sound so clueless right now, but I would have always assumed that like the bigger rival would maybe be a more local one, but yeah, I guess not.
Yeah, yeah, we think that like there's a pretty big rivalry between like the Eagles and the New York Giants. Um, but it feels like more with the Cowboys.
See.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. Yeah, I'll have to when I next go back, I'll have to go and I've never watched a football game. I have seen basketball in the US. I have seen ice hockey, which is really good. Like that
Mhm.
exceeded what I thought was gonna like
Hockey's
exceeded
awesome.
my yeah,
Yeah.
hockey is good. I went to watch my college team. So when I like I said, I did an exchange year at University of Vermont in Vermont. But I went to like watch the Montreal Canadiens a few times because Montreal was nearby. Um, I went to watch like two or three games and I was like, wow, this is fun. Like
Yeah.
I'd never seen a game before, but I was like, I don't even know a single player, but this is good.
It's really cool. It's nonstop. Um, I feel like out of the four major league sports in the US, it's the one where the refs kind of have the least, I don't want to say influence, but the players like they look like they could just kind of play. And it's kind of like more self-regulated, which I think is really cool.
Mm. Yeah. I can definitely see where you're coming from. And yeah, yeah, I'm assuming you're not into soccer so much.
No, but I could definitely dive in like if I have the time. I like all sports. Anything where I'm
Okay.
looking at someone like, you know, give it their all, like I'm into it. Yeah.
Yeah. And was there something else you were going to say?
Um, I don't think so. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if there's anything we didn't touch on today that you would like to mention, or we did, and you'd like to go more depth in it, then feel free right now. Otherwise, I'll just wind it down, I guess.
Um, I mean, I just gotta say, like, I love your content, especially chiming in the thing where people are arguing like which countries are healthier because you're like, dude, I've lived in like all of these places you're talking about. So I like hearing you chime in. It's it's nice because you're kind of like mixing up the you know the scientific evidence and you're like, here's what I saw in person. Like I know your posts about like your experience living in Japan always go
Yeah, that
completely
always
nuts, and
goes
I like reading through all those.
bananas. That always goes, but that's why I repost it. I repost it like once every 3 months, just
Yeah,
because for full transparency, it does well. People obviously every time I repost it, many people are reading it for the first time, which already merits a repost. Because the Threads user base is obviously growing quite a lot. So there's that, and it just gets me loads of email list signups, which from a small business perspective, it's very good for my small business.
yeah.
Um, Yeah, so I do it for those two things, and yeah, it gets a lot of good feedback. A lot of people like it. There are a small minority who do read it and then get upset in the comments about something I did not say, but that's just Threads as a platform.
Yeah.
It literally happens all the time with that post. And there's enough people that then defend me who are like, he didn't say that. So it's not like, so I know for a fact that it's not me. Just like, did I do something wrong? Maybe I did and I'm not realizing it. Like, nah, it's just people lose the inability to read if you touch on a subject, they're very, I don't know, I guess just hits really close to home for them and I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Something that helped me, is a little mental strategy from another coach who's like, I mean, they have a huge following. And they're like, yeah, if you ever get mad at other people getting mad, go look at like how many views, likes, and comments it has, and then like count the amount of negative comments. And
Yeah,
it's
no, exactly.
fractions of a percent. And you're like, that's not that bad. And if
No,
it's a high
exactly.
percent, then maybe that is a good sign that you need to reevaluate your messaging and what you're
No,
talking about. But
exactly. Yeah.
usually that doesn't happen.
No, exactly. And the one that I always find interesting as well is sometimes I'll get, and again, this is a really small percentage, but sometimes people will be like, "Oh, so you're not going to mention X reason?" And I'm just like,
Yeah.
you could write if no one's stopping you writing a thread about that if you want to. And they were like,
Yeah.
"You're the one doing it," and I'm like, "Well, yeah, but if I was going to write about every single reason, this would be like 50 threads. This would be like 50 posts long, and I would be here for a long time, and I just don't have that time. So I just wrote six quick reasons that came to mind. This isn't a be all and end all list. I did say that as well. So yeah, people are just a bit odd online.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a weird one I see a lot.
Yeah,
If your specific context is a pretty small percentage, you could pretty much bank on a relevant post like not covering your specific context. And that doesn't mean they're disregarding it and saying you're wrong or anything. It's just, you know, I don't know about you, but most of my threads posts, I'm just like, oh, I had a thought. Let me take out my phone and I kind of
yeah, yeah,
I post it. It's about 90 seconds.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Same, same. Unless it's like a
Yeah.
long thread, but
Right.
most of those that take like the longer threads do take me a while, but then I've just got something I can repost like once every few months and
Mhm.
just tweak it every time I repost it. So it's not like a lot of effort goes into those reposts either. But yeah, the
Right.
geography threads I find do work really well. Like I don't know what it is, but threads users just seem to really like them. I don't know why.
I mean, it's a hot topic right now. At least in the US, a lot of people are concerned and questioning about like what's in our food. So people are looking out for that information.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah. Um Yeah, Nolan, thank you so much for coming on. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. Appreciate you taking the time out. Where can people find you? I'll hyperlink everything you do say in the show notes of this podcast episode. So, like to the listener, if you didn't catch it, then you can just look at the show notes. But yeah, where's the best places for people to find you?
Yeah, best place is on Instagram, Nolan_Vannata. I'm pretty lucky no one else has my name. I didn't have to add like fitness or coach to my username. And then from there, I have like links to everything else. I got some free resources if you want to download them. And like my DMs are always open. I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. Again, thank you so much for coming on. Make sure you do drop Nolan a follow, and yeah, I'll see you in the next episode.
All right. Appreciate it. I love your content.